We have here now in Parshas Vayikra with Siyata Dishma as we turn and not only to Sefer Vayikra, but of course the Parsha of Vayikra wherein we discuss the Maila of Karbonis, the Avodas HaKarbonis. Right, it's the Heilige Din of Rabbi, the Bnei Yisachar, Tzvi Elamel Shapira Medinov, and his Bnei Yisachar Shchodesh Shemaimer Beis Gimel. He says, what's the inyan of Karbonis? Alright, it's the Heilige Din of Rebbe. Inyan HaKarbonis hu lekarev kol hamadregas domeim tzamech chai medaber el HaKadusha. The whole musig of a carbon encompasses what? We're taking the Daled Chelkei HaBriya. There are four general classifications of the Briya. You have the world of domeim that encompasses therein all still, lifeless, inanimate objects. That's the world of domeim, Lashon Duma. Chagiga Hayam and Aleph, the Malach that's appointed on death is Duma. The Loha Mesim Yala Kabalo Koyardi Duma. It's going into the world of eternal silence. That's the abyss. That is the grave. That's domeim, silent, inanimate objects. Then we move up in ascending order. We have the world of Tzomeach. That's the classification of the Briya that encompasses therein all of plant and vegetative life. And then of course we go up the scale to the world of Chai that encompasses the full gamut, the spectrum of the animal kingdom. And then of course the pinnacle of the Briya, that is Adam. But he's not described as Adam. And all the Sifrei, Marshava Sifrei Kabbalah, he is defined as what? As Medaber. It's not Stam and Adam, it's the Bechina of Medaber. Right? It's the Bnei Yisachar. We have Domeim, and that is the Zelum as opposed to Domeim, the lowest level of the Bria. You have the pinnacle of creation, and that is man as a Medaber. That's Bereshis, Perk Beis, Pasuk Zayin, Targum Yonasan, Ben Uzziel, Targum Onkelos. What does it mean? Vayipach, Ba'ap of Nishmas Chaim, Ba'havas Adam, the Ruach Memalala. Man wakes up when he has a Neshama, Neshima blown into him. Mad nafach mitoche. Medelei nafach writes the Sefer HaKana. He has the breath of life from the Eibishter himself, Kavayachol, and that breath of life into the Ofer Min Adama creates man. Man as what? Man as a speaking spirit. That is what man is. Man leumas domeim, the lowest level of the Bria. He is a medaber. So we go back to the Bnei Yisachar. Where do you have all these four inyanim coming together by the Avodas HaKarbonis? He says, well, take a look. Hanei karban achai. The carbon, that is the animal. That is the animal in front of you. You got the sheep, the mashal. Ha'etzim, you have the atzei marucha, the wood that's sitting on the mizbeach. That's tzomeach. That already encompasses plant and vegetative life. Ha'ko karboncha takriv melach, the pasuk says. You have melach, you have salt. That's the world of domei. And the adam who is makriv bekochol, the animal al Hashem yizbarach. What takes place every time there's a maisa avodas hakabonis in a kol and a fasha shol domei. Tzameach, Chai Medaber, Kula Meskarvim, Umeshtachim, Luknushosa, Yisporach. You bring them all together. V'zeu Tanuga v'Shashua Yisporach Shemo. What is the Eibishter love? When man can go ahead and take Domeim, Tzameach, and Chai. You can take the salt, where Bechin is the Domeim. You can take the Tzameach, those are the Atzei Marocha. You can take the Chai, that's the animal, and you are the Medaber. You bring that all together, and you makiv to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's what gives the Eibishter delight, and that's what's called a Korban Lashem. What's Lashem a korban lehavaya shemekariv kol arba madregas nefoshes of domeim tzemech chai medaber el dalid osios Hashem anechva keneged yudke vovke. You're mashlim the shem Hashem. You're mashlim the classifications of the bria. It all comes together when you bring a korban. So let me ask you a question. We know that with the loss of the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan and the two Batei Mikdash, Tefillah b'makam avoda niskana. So now we have what? Now we have Tefillah. And Tefillah is here to go ahead and take the role. So we have, it's interesting, in the Indian of Tefillah, so what are we doing? We're being Maskariv. We don't have the opportunity any longer, Alpi, the Bnei Yisachar, to take the Domeim, Tzamech, and the Chai, but we have to take all of us and be Makar of all of us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now we said on the Psukim, we find a korban is called an Ishe Reach Nichoach. It's an Isha, it's a korban that's brought in Eish, and it's Reach Nichoach, as Rashi says numerous times, based on the Sifra, the Torah's Kohanim, read it, not the Reach Nichoach, read it, Nachasruch Lafane Shamarti V'Naser Etzoni. So it's a Bechin of Reach Nichoach. The whole idea of the korban is we're going to give Hashem delight. The ultimate delight is when you have a Mishkan, when you have a Beis HaMikdash, and you can actively bring from all the Chelkei Abriya. But when you don't have the Beis HaMikdash, at least what? Take all of yourself and being mashlim yourself, that in a sense will kilo uplift the bria. You'll have to find ways of uplifting and elevating the bria around you, but there's going to be a chisaron. We don't have the actual avoda, but at least we have a bechina tefillah makam avoda niskana. And it's interesting because the korban is called a reich nichoach. And we spoke the other day about how the inyan of how we return to Hashem b'nei Yisoschodik is Alpi the Chusharech. So it's interesting, if you look at our davening, we have 5 means of interacting with the universe around us. We interact with the God's world, Al Yedei Derech the Mamutza, the intermediary, the conduit of what? Of the Chamisha Chushim. Sense of sight, sense of sound, sense of smell, sense of taste, and sense of touch. Lafini is taiti, it's interesting. Take a step back and think about your tefillah. What do you do when you're davening? Well, you have involved the sense of touch. You're holding on to the sitter, and even if you know that, you're certainly not holding on to a cell phone. No one chas v'sholom is ever going to daven from a cell phone. Right? That's unheard of. Without davening from a cell phone, so holding on to a sitter. And even if you know davening by heart, how many people know Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Machzah, right? Avodah of Yom Kippur by heart. And at the end of the day, you're holding on to a sitter. You're holding on to a Machzah. That's chusha mishush. You have one chusha tam. You have the koch of the peh, and you are speaking. You have sight. You're looking at the words and shots. You're listening to the shliach tzibur. You have 4 of the 5 senses. Now, it's interesting on the Feiner because tefillah is the mamolei mokum, if you will. It's taking over the mokum of avoda, and the whole taich of the avodas hakabonis is what reach nichoach is the inyan of reach, which is the most ruchniistic sense. The Maharsha told us Chedush Goddess and Brachos Mem Gimel Amud Beis that it's the davar shan neshama nezbo because it's the most ruchniistic sense. It's intangible. The chusha reach. It's something that only the neshama derives pleasure. And the same Maharsha writes and Chedush Goddess and Yuma Pei Beis Amud Beis, as does the Shloh Kaddish. On Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to drink, but what? You're allowed to smell. You can smell nice reich b'samim because that's kula ruchni. That's not a steer at all. That's only hana for the neshama. That's no hana for the guf. It's not a contradiction. No steer at all to the mitzvah of inisam esnaf shosechem, highlighting the ini haguf, because this is only a tainuk, a pleasure for the neshama. Yuma Pei Beis and Brachos Mem Gimel. This is something that's kula ruchni. So Rabbi say, where is my inyan of the reich? If the whole taich of the avodas hakabonis is that when you bring it all together, that gives a delight to Hashem. It gives Hashem a nachas ruach. And as we explained, it's expressed what? It's expressed in the Lashon of Reach, because the Sebene Yisoscha told us in a few places, in Mamore and Chodshe, Rosh Chodesh Adar, Maimer Dalet and Oneself, in Mamore, Chodesh Mar Cheshvan and Maimer Aleph and Osbeis, that even though Adam and Chava messed up 4 of the 5 senses, they never messed up in the Chusharech. That's the one conduit, the one way back, and the Gan Eden and Amayla. That's Vayerachas Reich Begalev, smell the Reich of Gan Eden. Then we have a Shaychas too. We can smell the Reich of Gan Eden. That's the one way back in the Gan Eden. That's the Iker Maila of the carbon. It's a Reich. So where is Reich Hamaydav? We have halachas that you got to stay away from a reach raf. You got a bad smell, you have to be marchik dalet amos v'chulei. If you have the makor, we have halachas about staying away. But there's no inyan in you know what? Get out the scent, get out the fresh scent. Or as one comedian once quit, says, I don't understand why women have to buy perfume. If you're going to go ahead and you want to attract the opposite gender, there's nothing men like more than fresh scent of a new car. And they should be marketing fresh. What should be the perfumes? It should be fresh car smell. Right? The new smell of car smell. They try to imitate it with the artificial, but it's the combination of the new, the carpet, and this and the left. Everything comes together. It's why is there no halacha? Daven in a place where what you can have a geshmak a reich. There's no halacha. Where's reich in my tefillah? There is no reich in my tefillah, but lefini es daiti, there is a reich. Where's the reich in the tefillah? Because you are the carbon. You are the reich. Tahainu what? You are. The whole inyan of the korban is defined Barosh Rishona, first and foremost, as a reich nichoch, as an isha reich nichoch. The ultimate is, what is the reich nichoch shabo? Writes the Maral, Yitzchak Avinu, who is a korban, he's keneged midas adin, which is keneged chusha reich. That is the inyan of the Ketores. The Ketores gives a beautiful reich. Reich is makusher be'etzem to midoso shel Yitzchak, which is midas adin. Explains the Maral, you're walking down the street, your eyes are open, your eyes will naturally see anything, right? That's in India, they're going to see anything that they're going to see, and your ears are going to hear anything. You want to close it up, because saying when basically got a stick, no kefetz bo, but no, you have to take the flap, the aliyah, and put it in. You want to not see something, you have to close your eyes, or you have to actively look down. Taste something. These are things automatically. You have your mouth open, things can fly into your mouth, but the nose, in the end of the day, the smells won't go in unless you sniff it in. That's midas adin. You have full control. Din lashon dai. I decide what I want to sniff, what I want to inhale, and what I don't want to inhale. That's the inyan of Midas Adin. That's Chush Hareach. That's why the Karbonos are Chush Hareach, Hareach Nichalach. It's a Mekusher to Yitzchak, who is Midaso Midas Adin. That's why he was a Korban. He wasn't just someone who gave us a Tefillah. Shachar is corresponding to the Shachar like Avram and Brachas Chavav on base. Tefillah Shaykh to the Erev like Yaakov Vinu. He was not a Tefillah Shaykh to the Tzarayim. Hence, it's not a conjugation of the word Tzarayim. He was a Mincha. What is a Mincha? An offering. He was an offering of himself. Avram Avinu Davin. Yaakov Avinu Davin. Yitzchak was an offering of himself. Pshuto Kimashmo. That is a mincha. He was a korban. I know Yitzchak is a mincha. He is a korban. He's Ishal Hashem. His whole tachlis is he is the one, the only one who can be Vayarach Esreich Megad. Who's the only one to smell Gan Eden? The only one who's there. That's Yitzchak. That's Midas Adin. That is Chush Hareach. That is the Isha Korban Hashem. The greatest Nachas Ruach is you giving yourself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is Batlus. How do I demonstrate that? When you stand in Tefillah. Alpi Brochos Tafiyanim and based on Yechezkel Parakala Pasuk Zayin, V'ragleim Regel Yeshara. What's the idea of standing as the Amida? And the Amida in Shmoneh, which is the spitz of what Tefillah is all about, the Siyah Darga, is Amida. What is Amida? Amida is, writes the Seder Hayom, writes the Maral, and the Sivat Tefillah, the idea, it's Rav Schwab on prayer as well. The whole Musa, page 411, he writes, the whole idea of the Tefillah of the Amida is, I stand still, I'm giving over myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The total is Batlus. Total is Balus and his Chavers to the Almighty above. That is Tefillah. I know what? Before I hold on to a sitter, before I go ahead and I look at any words, before I hear any shots, before I say any word, just standing in front of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With that Amida, I'm tying together my hands, I'm tying together my legs. What did I just do? That's a Hamodah L'fnei Hashem, which Rav Chaim on the Rambam writes in the Chidushei Agrach on the Rambam. Parak Daled L'Chal was the only thing that's Ma'akev in Tefillah. What's that? My Tzuras HaTefillah defined by my Hamodah L'fnei Hashem. Dahainu, what do you see based on Rav Chaim? The Ikar Yisod in Tefillah is I'm standing in front of Hashem as a korban, as a mincha, as a replica of the dogma of Akedas Yitzchak. What's Akedah? I got my hands tied, I got my legs tied. I'm standing in front of you, HaKadosh. That is a korban. That is Ishal Hashem. The Hisbatlus Gemuru Muchletes to the Ratzon Abore. You don't need to put Chush Hareach. Why? Because the Ikar Reach Nichalach is the Isha Reach Nichalach. What is the Ikar Nachas Ruach? When you shoulder his batalus to the Borei Olam, Mavato, because what was the whole Indian that we ate from the Eitz Hadas? I'm going to be godlike. I'm not going to be Mavato myself. I'm not going to listen to the Tzivay of Hashem. I'm going to make my own Cheshbonos. What is the Tzuras HaTefillah? Total Hisbalus, Akedas Yitzchak Hashem. I'm passive. I am a korban. I am botol, umavutal, utterly subjugated before you, completely subservient to the Almighty above. That's what I am. I am a korban. I am a bittul. I am an imitation of Yitzchak's Akedas Yitzchak. Hands and legs are tied. That is an Ishal Hashem. In the context of my standing before you, which is the ultimate Isha Rech Nichoch, Dugmoso Shal Yitzchak Avinu, on the one Akedas Yitzchak, then I'll open my other four senses and I'll combine that. Comes along Amalek. And Amalek tries to destroy us at the end of Parshas Beshalach. How are we going to emerge victorious? Amalek, we're about to go to Har Sinai, connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu like never before. And what are we? We come out, we're no longer avodim to Paro, henceforth we're avodim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Comes Amalek and says, we're not going to let the avodim HaKadosh Baruch Hu demonstrate any avodah. We're going to stop you on the path. What's the way to beat them? Well, Yitzchak already told us. Who told us how to beat them? Yitzchak, the Yaman Avodah, told us, Chav Zayin Chav Beis, that what? The Yadayim, Koko Yaakov Yadayim de Esav, and writes the Medrash, when you have the coal coming out of the base, what they're going to see is the kol atfilah, then Klal Yisrael's on top. If not, then Esav's going to be on top. Because that comes a nofel. How are you going to beat Esav's descendants? V'hayakasher Yoramosha Yodav V'Gava Yisrael. It's going to be the Koach HaTfilah. Koach HaTfilah is how we destroy when we tap into the Kol Yaakov that Yitzchak described and defined. This is the Mailah. If we could take that Kol Yaakov, that's how we can defeat Esau. Comes Purim time. You want to destroy the enemy. If we don't have Torah Bishlei Musa and we don't have the others Bishlei Musa, Fakar, we're going to celebrate Lohida Ma'isora V'Simcha Sasavika Megillah Tazayin Reis. We're going to get the Or of Torah. We're going to get the Simcha Yontif and the Sosan Amili the Akar Tefillin, but the guy never attacked what they can't touch our koach tefillah. That is essential to who I am as a ruach mamalala, as a medaber, not stam as an odom, as a medaber. My defining trait is the koach tefillah, and that's the koko Yaakov, and that's what can always defeat an Esav. And thus writes the Rambam at the end of his Minyan HaMitzvahs, after he enumerates all the asays and the los asays. Then he talks about Yesh mitzvahs acheres shenischachu after Matan Torah. V'kovos hanavim chachamim they will push to b'chol Yisrael. His first dugma is can go in Mikra Megillah. Then there Chanukah v'chulei. And writes the Rambam, this is the last statement after his minyan mitzvahs. Helakachan omru shanavim and based in Tiknu v'tzivu lukras hamagillah b'yonasa. They were masaking to lay in Mikra Megillah. Why? Kedei lahasker shvachu shal kashvachu. Hu teshua shah salonu v'haya karav lishavenu. He was karav Hashem l'chol karav l'chol asher yigrom b'mes. He was close to hearing our tefillas. Why? Kedei lavarcho ulahalalo kriyas azu ilula. Hu kedei lo dia l'dor savam she'emes mafshi tachanu b'Torah. And that it's emes what the Eibishter told us and promised us in the Torah Kadosha. Kimi goy gadol shelo him krovim elov kashem elokenu v'chol karenu elov. That there's always tefillah. Whenever matzav neira, however much the goyim try to take away, however much they try to destroy us at the end of Mashalach, however much they try to take us and get us away Purim time or Chanukah time or Holocaust time, they can take away the Torah and we don't have Ashkicham Torsech, we don't have all the Svarim, and they can take away Bris Milah and they take away Tefillin and Mitzvahs Hasiyas. They can't touch you as an Adam, as a Medaber. They can't silence you. You can always be davening. What is the Rambam telling us? And the Maral makes it a very clear point in the Psicha to his Perush HaChodesh and Megillas Esther. How did we defeat Haman? What? It was the tinus. Don't bring anything into your mouth, no food or drink. Use it instead to be motzi, the words of Tefillah. It's going to be Mordechai and Esther leading Klai on one in Tefillah. How do you destroy them with the Kol Yaakov? You destroy them with the Bechina of the Tefillah. That's the Schamas, that's a Dveikus, so the Kodesh Malik is going to try and touch you. They can't take away your essence the same way in a Korban. And my Tefillah, what? It's not as essential, all the other senses, but the one, that Bechina, the Reich, the Kula Ruchni. That is my Yizbatus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that I'm always connected. We're always connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Adam as Medaber, the Goyim, the way we could defeat Haman Purim time is what? Haman Hamina Eitz. How do you get away from the Eitzadas? The total Hizbatus to the Borei Olam. If Mordechai Esther are going to highlight that complete Hizbatus, Gemura Muchletes, Haidei the Koch Tefillah, we can always beat Amalek. That's the Indian of Kriyas and Megillah. That's the Maral in this Psicha. No matter what Amalek tries to take away from us, we don't find like Hudam Haisa Tefillah. No, they can never touch the tefillah to begin with. We're going to celebrate the Torah like never before. We're going to celebrate Simchas Yom Tov and Sos and Milah and Tefillin Yakar. We don't have to celebrate tefillah because they were never able to have a shlitas yad on our kocha tefillah. That's what we always hold on to. No matter how much in the dumps, how much in the abyss we are, we always have the kocha tefillah the same way. That's how we got into Mitzrayim in the first place. And Shuto Shemikra, what does it say? Yishma Hashem is not kosa. We could have no mitzvahs. We could be Oved Avodah Zarah. But what do we always hold on to? The kocha tefillah. Molech says, I'm not going to let you get to that relationship with Maimon Sinai. But what? We didn't get the Torah yet. We don't have the mitzvah sasis. You know what we have? We have our same koach tefillah that got us out of Mitzrayim. We can defeat you with what? Kasher Yorah Moshe's Yodo. V'chi Yodo Shal Moshe Osis V'chama Shos V'chama Rashon Chavtesam and Aleph. Elak Shayim Estakon Chavashem Ushav Demes Libam Neshamayim. It's not stam a tefillah, but a tefillah with bechinas Isherech Nichochav being Meshabed Eslim Chol Neshamayim. Of a bechina Vakedes Yitzchak of the Hisbatos of standing before the Eibishter saying, I am all yours. That is what? That's the ultimate way, Hashem, I'm giving you all of me. I'm imitating my Akedes Yitzchak. That's the koach that Yitzchak described that we have in his children in Zarosho Yitzchak. The Kol Yaakov, the Kol HaTefillah will always enable us and empower us to vanquish Amalek and all our opponents. We should be zeicher to tap into the Kol HaTefillah, to daven like never before, to bring about an end to all the tzaras and Hashem, to bring about a Geula Shleima Bekarov. Have a wonderful night. A Gavaldige Shabbos Kodesh, Heilige Shabbos Parsha Zohar, and a Freilich and Purim up.